everyone, and welcome back to our next episode on National Careers Week. Today we've got with us Dan Graham from Next Gen Planners. So hi Dan.
Hi Danielle, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, I've never been on a podcast where someone's got almost the same name as me. So that's going to be quite interesting, isn't it?
Get it confusing.
Yeah.
All right, what we're going to do is just sort of see what kind of position you're in, Dan, what, the career journey that you've been on, any tips that you might have for current students thinking of going into a similar role as yourself. So you're right just to start off just by kind of introducing yourself and sort of your job role at the moment.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Yeah, my name's Dan. I'm the it's called the Head of Community Experience and Marketing, Next Gen Planners. And it's not really a household job title. I think actually it might be one of the first. I'm one of the first who's actually got that job title. And that's partially because I created it myself and alongside the help of my director as well. So my role, I think we'll go into like what I do on a daily basis a bit later on, but my role at the moment is we run a community of hundreds of financial planners in the UK and around the world as well. And financial planners is not a household thing either, but it basically means financial advisor. So it's someone that you go to when you need help with your pension or life insurance, or basically just to know that you're going to be safe in retirement. Or sometimes people go to them when they've got need help with the mortgages, things like that. So my role at the moment is to run that community. So it's like running workshops, events. We do 2 podcasts a week. We've got a conference coming up in June. We've got loads of different products that we offer, but the main thing that I do is just make sure that everyone's happy and make sure everyone's getting the most out of their membership as well.
Oh, bro, sounds like a nice job. So I know you mentioned at the start you created the role pretty much yourself. The next question was going to be, did you always know you were going to be in this role?
Not this. I mean, like I said, it's definitely not this one. But I knew I wanted to be in something that is where you get to chat with cool people all the time. My main thing is that I like to be surrounded by people who are, I call them energy, the opposite of energy drainers. And that's people who are ambitious, aspirational. They want to achieve good things in their lives and they are willing to work hard for it as well. So I always knew that I wanted to be in something like that and working close with people like that. And this job it's weird calling it a job as well, because I know you hear this probably all the time from people, but I actually don't see it as a job really. I see it as just something that I do. I think it's the opposite of a job at the moment. I don't wake up every day dreading it, like most people do with their jobs. I actually go to work and enjoy myself, and in the morning, it actually, does feel like I'm getting up to go and do something with a purpose. So yeah, I knew I wanted to be in something like this, but I didn't know I wanted to be in that role specifically. No way.
Yeah, it's quite a specific one, isn't it? Sounds like the dream, though. That is a dream, isn't it? Knowing that you're happy to get up and do your role, I guess, every day and not sort of dread it. I know that's quite a big thing, isn't it? When you wake up and you're like, oh God, off to work again.
I've been in jobs where I've dreaded getting up not dreaded getting up, but dreaded, getting out of bed and thinking, oh, I've got so much ahead of me today that I just can't be bothered doing. And I've been in jobs like that. And I think that gave me the push to actually find something that I did want to do. And that I did, feel like I could kind of deliver some passion towards, other than just, using it to pay bills.
Yeah, definitely. There's that thing, isn't there? Like, would you rather earn more or be sort of satisfied in your job? And I think it's, it is priceless, isn't it? Being happy enough to get up and go to work every day. And when it doesn't feel like work, that's the dream. So obviously you didn't expect to be kind of in this exact job role that you're in. How did you actually get to this position then? What pathway did you take?
Yeah, so I won't go. To be fair, I'm only 26, so it's not a long journey. I say I'm only 26. I mean, sounds terrifying to me. And to the listeners, I'm probably assuming that they're in year 11 or something like that. So I'm definitely an old gadget to them. But so it's not that far back, to be honest. Went to university, left in 2016 with a degree. Obviously, I didn't just leave. Graduated in 2016. I did a job which you also did, Danielle, as well, and it's called Graduate Ambassador.
Oh, I didn't realize you did as well.
Yeah, I did that as well. So it's you know what it is, but it's a cool job. You go around the schools, colleges in the UK, basically telling people how cool university is and how cool your specific university is. And my one was Newcastle University. I know that you did it for Northumbria, didn't it? So there's a bit of a battle
Yeah,
going on there. But I mean, it was really cool. It took me to Cyprus. It took me all around the country. So it was a really good job, but it was a fixed term job. So it was only for a year. Then I had a pretty mediocre job in between that and my current one, where I was just picking up the stuff that no one else wanted to do. And that was a job just to pay bills.
yeah,
Absolutely. And then one of my mates, his brother is a financial planner or financial advisor, depending on which way you're looking at it. And one of his mates was looking for someone in Darlington. So I just went for a coffee with him. We sat in a coffee shop for about 2.5 hours, 3 hours. We had a conversation about what financial planner actually is, what you need. So you need to be qualified. You need to go through all these exams, qualifications, and it's a hard slog, but it's worth it in the end. But the thing that really swung it for me was that he told me that I'd get a MacBook, and that was for me. I was like, whoa, right, this sounds like the best job in the world. Like, even though I have to get the train down to Darlington every day, which is not the most glamorous thing in the world, having a MacBook absolutely is. So that sold it for me. Went through all my qualifications, everything to be a financial planner. Was going to be what's called chartered. I think people might have heard of what chartered is before, but basically it's like an extra level onto your specific qualification. And then figured out that financial planning wasn't quite for me just yet. It's quite a technical job with lots of kind of studying, and you need to really, really be on your game. Whereas I just like talking to people. I just like meeting cool people and helping them out with their lives. So figured out that wasn't quite for me just yet. And then I was also working for Next Gen Planners, which is my current employer now. And basically I've just transitioned over to be their first employee. So like I said, it's not a long journey or particularly interesting one, but it's been that thing again of not staying where you are if you're unhappy. I just don't think I could ever do that. I think I'm quite restless with my jobs. Like I won't do it if I don't think that it'll take me somewhere or that I'm going to enjoy it.
yeah, definitely. I think, like you say, you kind of got to get through those, though, haven't you, to realize it's not for you, and just be fine with accepting that and finding what is right for you. Definitely. So I think it's still an interesting journey, even though it hasn't been too much of a sort of long one so far. In terms of what you do at the minute, then I know you've discussed kind of your role. What does like a typical day look like for you? I guess during lockdown it might look a little bit different in terms of where you're working, but in general, what sort of happens on a typical day?
Yeah, so we don't have. I mean, we're only a small team of 5, so we don't, and we work. I think 2 of the guys are in Manchester. Someone else is in Warrington, which is near Liverpool. My other director, Rohan, he's in Darlington, and then I'm in Newcastle. So we don't actually have a specific office. So it's no different, just to answer your question there, it's no different between lockdown and not lockdown in terms
Okay.
of like the working environment. We don't have a working environment. With everything we do is virtual. But a typical working day, again, I mean, it's so varied. It's one of those jobs where you know 2 days are the same, quite literally. So today, for instance, I mean, we're recording this at 5:30, so it's actually after a working day. But I've been preparing sponsor packs for our conference in June, like consumer-facing materials, so like brochures, things like that. I've recorded a podcast. I've been preparing a workshop that we're doing on Thursday. I've just been genuinely just keeping up with people on the platform that we have. But then this week, like I said, I've got workshops, all sorts of different things. So like 2 days never look the same, really. And I think that's what I like as well. The fact, because like I said, I get quite bored and I don't really like routine. So a job like this, where it gives you lots of variety in your days, is perfect for me as well.
Yeah, definitely. That was going to be my next question, what you enjoy most about the role. But I think you've kind of answered that there, then a bit of variety.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, hate routine. I hate going to work every day with the same old. And I hate not the idea of not having an impact on someone else's life as well. Even if it's just one person a day where you can just say something or do something really small to actually make them a bit happier, that counts as making a difference to someone's day. So I think that's one thing as well that a lot of people try to do, especially during lockdown, is to try and do something for someone else at least once a day.
Yeah.
So that's definitely what I enjoy as well.
Amazing. So with that then, is there anything that kind of surprises you along the way? So I know you've not been in this role for too long, and obviously you kind of created the role yourself. But is there any surprises that you didn't expect to come with the role that has?
Not really. I mean, we were talking about this before, weren't we? And sorry, someone just came in the house if you can hear loads of noise.
I can't worry.
That happens all the time now during lockdown, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean, like I said, pretty much created the role for myself, so we didn't really have job descriptions or anything like that. Yeah, it's a hard question to answer because I genuinely don't do anything now that I didn't think I would be doing before I actually, joined Next Gen Planners. There's definitely more to it than I anticipated. So there's more kind of behind the scenes stuff. So I think what's cool when you work in a small business is you get to have quite a big impact on the overall strategy of the business. And what that means is you can have a say on things that are going to happen in the future. So like, for instance, with the conference that's happening in June, that's pretty much been handed. It's a global conference with like 300 people there. We've got like 100 speakers. That's pretty much all landed on my desk to sort out and stuff. So like one of the biggest shocks was the amount of responsibility that actually just gets kind of put onto you straight away, which is nice, but it's definitely a shock when it gets put on your desk.
I can imagine. That's a good position to be in, though. Like you say, like you're only 26, and I'm sure some people, go for a lot of years, like sort of longer than that before they get that amount of responsibility. So definitely sounds like you're in a good position.
Sometimes you can see why it takes people so long, because it does take some kind of jumping out of your comfort zone, and you get a bit of imposter syndrome where you perhaps think that the job is too good for you, or you're not good enough for the responsibility that's been passed on to you. And it takes some getting out of that comfort zone to realize that you actually are good enough and you actually can do it. And I think that's why people take quite a while to get to those kind of roles where you get that responsibility, because it takes some time to actually think, you know what, I am good at this and I'm confident enough that I can do this. But sometimes it just takes some, like, you just throwing yourself out there and saying, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll just have a go.
Definitely. And something clicks and you realize actually you can do that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So thinking about, like you say, it's usually sort of year 11s, maybe even students like a little bit younger, that are likely to be watching this. So I just wanted to see if you had anything that you kind of wish you knew when you were in school. So obviously you didn't expect to be in this exact role, but is there anything now you think, oh, I wish I just knew that when I was a bit younger and I would have maybe made a few changes, or anything that would have just been useful to know?
Yeah, I think it comes back to what I was talking about before. I wish that someone told me that you don't need the job that you get for life. I think I had to figure that out myself. I think a lot of people have to figure that out themselves. The fact that, just because you've got this job now doesn't mean that you have to stay in it forever, especially if you're not happy in it. I think it sounds cliche, but you do actually only live once. And, therefore, you should enjoy every single day. And I wish someone told me that, your job shouldn't just be something to pay the bills. It should be something that you also enjoy alongside that. I don't think that's talked about quite enough. I think, there's too much emphasis on you need to have this job, or, this is a good job and this is a bad job. There's no such thing as a good job and a bad job. As long as you enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And it's like you mentioned at the start, it's, I guess, the balance, isn't it? If it's sort of paying the life that you're looking for, and you're also happy and sort of satisfied in that role, I think that's kind of the key, isn't it? That's the dream.
Yeah.
But I think as well, a lot of people's parents, I don't know about yours, but mine have been like in the same job like their whole lives. They left school and staying in that job. And it's like you're saying, that that's kind of what you expect, isn't it? Like, oh, okay, I'll just get a job and I'll be in that forever. But it's really not the case at all, and it definitely doesn't need to be if you're not happy.
No, I think our generation is where you have multiple jobs over your lifetime. Like you mentioned there, my dad has had the same job. I think he's been in the same job since he was 17. And I think, to him, the idea of moving now is almost scarier than anything. Like he can't imagine having another job anywhere else. And he's got to a good position in his company and everything like that. So there's no reason for him to move. But we are definitely different in the fact, if we're not getting somewhere, then we'll put our foot down and say, right, that's it, I'm going to move somewhere else. Whereas I think that kind of idea of, it's almost like disloyalty. I think that scares perhaps previous generations, whereas with us, it's quite exciting. It's like, well, I'm not enjoying this, so I'm going to go and do something else.
What's next? Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. So just on that note then, is there any tips that you'd maybe give current students who are watching this today? So any tips on, you know, where they want to be? I know you've mentioned a few throughout, but is there any kind of key tips in your mind that you'd want to give them as a bit of advice or a bit of guidance?
Yeah, don't have a kind of small town or small city mindset. I know that we live in quite a big city in Newcastle, and I'm assuming that the people who are going to be watching this will live in or around Newcastle.
Yeah.
So it's not small city mindset in terms of like, it's a small city, but in terms of like everything that you know, it can be scary to move to a new city. So like for university, for instance, I know a lot of people who put it off because they're too scared to move away from home, or they don't know what they're going to do once they get there or anything like that. And they kind of restrict their options to closer to home. That's what I would just say, like try, just don't be scared to just go out there and explore the, you know, your different choices and options. I think as well, one of my things at school, this is quite embarrassing, this, but was like that I had a relationship when I was in year 11, and I was terrified to move away because I didn't know how that relationship would go. But once you get out of that and you realize, you know, if I'd have stayed, because I'm from Carlisle originally, and that is a small town, it's a small city mindset, and it takes some breaking out of that eventually. But yeah, just kind of break out of that small town, small city mindset as soon as you can.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. Because if you imagine if you stayed in Carlisle, like where would you be today?
Yeah, well, I definitely wouldn't be what I'm doing now. You know, the good thing is that the guys who are listening to this are going to be living in Newcastle, and there's plenty of options around here. You know, it's certainly bigger than small towns and cities, so you've got a good start.
Definitely. Last thing that I just wanted to mention as well, obviously the theme of today is kind of humanities and transferable skills. I know that we haven't touched on too much kind of your studies, but what was it exactly that you studied at uni? Was it kind of related to the role that you're in now, or completely different?
I suppose it kind of relates. I did English language at university, and that was just because I got a good grade at GCSE, and then my teacher said you could do English at university, and then ever since then I was just like, okay then, because it's like someone gave me an option, and I was like, right, I'm going to just do that then because someone told me that I could do it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of related. I do a lot of copywriting, I do a lot of speaking and stuff, but I don't think that ties exactly with English language. I think it's quite a transferable one. Just to have a degree is kind of transferable. It just shows that you're willing to put the time in, the effort in, and that's why so many graduate jobs now, I think it's still the same. I mean, it's been a while since I was looking at graduate jobs, but they're like, you know, a degree accepted from any discipline, and it's just because, you know, you just need to show that you're willing to work hard for a qualification, and that's what most employers look for, really. That's another tip actually as well. Sorry, is having the right attitude. We haven't employed anyone at Next Gen Planners, but when we do employ people, I'm going to look for attitude rather than qualifications or previous experience. I don't care if you've been president of the United States of America. If you've got the wrong attitude, I can't work with you. If you say no to things too often, or you don't have a can-do mindset, or you're not willing to, you know, put the hours in, put the hard work in, it doesn't matter who you are. You're less employable than someone who is willing to go out there, work hard, say yes to everything. Qualifications and stuff are absolutely important, but don't think that's all that you need. You know, you do need good attitude. You do need to just say yes to things. You've got to realize that you're not going to be handed everything on the plate, and that you do have to work hard for it. So yeah, just having the right can-do attitude from a young age is all you need, really. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to be honest, that really summarises the theme of today well. I think, as I say, we're focusing on humanities, but the transferable skills within that. So like you say, you studied English, and the skills that you got from your degree, and probably everything else that you got involved in, you know, whilst you were there and after that, maybe even before, is kind of got you to where you are today, hasn't it, rather than the actual content of your course.
Yeah. Definitely. I think I'm just quite a can-do yes person, will say yes to things. I know that's not everyone's kind of cup of tea. but I think that's probably got me to, what I'm doing now is because I've just said yes to all these opportunities that have came along. If you make yourself open to opportunities, they'll come along. If you just keep saying yes and yes and yes to things, eventually you can pretty much get anywhere, to be honest.
You'll get there, definitely. Oh, I think that's some really good advice and some excellent tips that you've given us all today, Dan. So thank you very much. It's been really helpful.
No, it's been lovely to chat to you. Really nice.
Thank you. All right. Well, tune in obviously later today to join our workshop. It's all based around sort of humanities and transferable skills. But hopefully you've picked up a lot of tips from the conversation with Dan today. And thank you very much for listening. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye.